we begin is it's called kriha, literally the term means to tear. We're going to make a tear in the ribbons that are attached to the clothing and feel it as part of clothing. As a way of indicating that when we lose somebody that we love, a tear is created in the fabric of our lives. We do this standing together because that's what gives us the strength to bind up that tear and to go on. And we recite a bracha in which we accept what is happening. And so I'll ask you to recite with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. We learn in the book of Job, Adonai natan Adonai lakach, Yishim Adonai levarach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away, and still we bless the Lord and we thank God for the time that we've had together. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Kirachem av al banim recham Adonai al yireav. As the parent has compassion for children, so God has compassion for us. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are but dust. And yet, Adonai's compassion is everlasting, and God's kindness to children's children endures age after age, unchanging. Time of mourning is complicated, filled with many emotions and memories. We begin our service always, however, in the same way. We begin with psalms, the oldest prayers, the oldest liturgy that we have, going back to the time of the Bible. And in that way, we're going to link Gertrude Bagel's life to 3,000 years of Jewish tradition, the people of Israel, and the eternity of God. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? With those words, framing a question, the psalmist, perhaps at a time such as this, begins the reflection. And then goes on. The source of my help is the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. He will not let you falter. Your guardian does not slumber. Surely the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. He is at your right hand to protect you. The Lord, your keeper, gives shelter. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. The Lord will preserve your soul. He will guard your going and coming from this time forth and forever. Mizmor David, another of the Psalms of David. Adonai ro'i lo echsar binot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahalev, nafshi yeshovev. Yancheni v'magle tzedek leman shemo, gam ke'elech b'geit tzal mavet lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shiftecha mishantecha hem yanachamuni, ta'aruch lefanai shulchan neged tzororai, hishanta b'shem roshi kosi devaya. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yimei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Those are the Hebrew words of a psalm we know so well. Psalm 23, we sometimes call it the Shepherd Psalm. I'm sure many of you know it from memory. Recite with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. At this time, we turn back to the earliest stages of our history, to our very beginnings as a people, to the biblical book of Bereshit. And there we see that at the passing of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, it's members of the family who come forward to speak words of eulogy, words of memory. And so in keeping with what is truly an ancient tradition, we're going to hear from the generations of Gertrude's family. And Carl will begin.
Everybody for coming today to remember my mother. I was doing okay until I started seeing all of you, by the way. And then, thank you all, really, because I think I needed it. Do my best here. Gertrude Fanny Kaufman Bagel. My mom was 96. What's the weather today? I think it's hitting 96. That's what the radio just said. So, what a coincidence. Today is a sad day for the Bagel family. My mother was born November the 9th, 1924. She was coming up on age 97. The last few days have been an emotional roller coaster. She suffered a severe brain injury Saturday morning, and we were told to expect the worst, the end. But we thought she would miraculously survive this. And the answer is why? Why? Because if you go back, April 2nd, 2020, she developed pneumonia, and the next day she was diagnosed with COVID-19 and had 102 fever. Lionsgate prepared me for the worst because all of my mom's roommates perished. They treated her with an antibiotic and hydroxychloroquine. I know you've heard that word. And obviously worked. My mom survived COVID. Lionsgate sent me a picture of my mom holding a sign. I beat it. Maybe you can't really see it, but this is what I got. And you see one of the nurses who's dressed like an astronaut behind her. This was like incredible. So for those in this room that did lose loved ones to COVID-19, I am truly, truly sorry. But this time, the injuries were just too much. The amazing thing is that she was still fighting for her life until the last breath. We kept asking her questions throughout the night, and she kept struggling to answer us. This brain injury. She actually tried to eat some pudding during the ordeal and kept trying to open her eyes. She just kept fighting. 96 years is a lot of years to discuss, so I will narrow this down. My mother was married to my dad, Jack, for 48 years. My dad passed away July the 3rd in the year 2000 at the age of 90. He would be 110 today. July the 3rd is like 4 days from now, so I guess my mother wanted to celebrate his 110th with him. He married a very young lady. They had me immediately, and then my sister Barbara a few years later. My mother's claim to fame was making her famous knispray and always being a clean freak. My friends that grew up with me were brought up to knispray this morning. That was amazing. When I was younger, I would wake up for school like at 6:30, get up, go to the bathroom, wash up, and then I'd come back to my room, and my bed was already made, my pillow was in the window airing out. She was always so proud of a clean home. When my dad developed dementia in his late 80s, he eventually had to be institutionalized, and she went by bus every day to help feed my dad the Golden Slipper in Philadelphia. This was her job in life, to take care of her family, and boy did she. I am at a loss right now. Before COVID, I visited my mom nearly every day. And I was really a proud mom as a boy. I'm happy to say it. I learned that from my mom because when Barbara and I were very little, she took us every Saturday to see my dad's parents at their facility and then to be with her mom at 318 Ritter Street in South Philly. COVID messed up things, but we restarted seeing my mom about a month ago when COVID restrictions were lifted. And now my mom is off to see my dad, her 7 siblings, and her parents. We were very fortunate to have my mom see her grandchildren for 39 years and spend quality time with her great-grandchildren. She was a fixture at Lionsgate, and it really broke my heart to watch the staff crying when they heard the news. Some of them are here today. And Mom, I'm sorry to see you go. You were always there for me, and I will miss you forever.
My grandma. When I think of her, a lot of great things come to mind. As my dad just mentioned, she was a fighter. She made it to 96 years old. Grandma fought through the depression, surgeries, dementia. She even beat COVID last year. It just seemed like she could shrug off anything thrown at her. She was hardworking and full of pride. Grandma would take the bus down to South Philly every day to help support Grandpa at his shop. After long days, she would be back at home, cooking and cleaning. Her house was always immaculate. As a kid, my sister and I would sleep over and wake to her walking around the house, dusting, sweeping, and washing. This was every morning at the crack of dawn. She said, "You must clean first to start your day." It would be nice if a 10-year-old could sleep past 6:30, but the chores had to be done. And it did not stop there. She garnered the nickname Grandmom Hanger from my friends because when she came to babysit at our house, she would iron all of our clothes, including our jeans, and hang them. We had never seen anything like this before. In a funny way, Grandmom did not deal with nonsense. She was old school. If you asked her about her neighbors, she kept it short and did not want to let them know too much about her. It was none of their business, she would say, even when it came to sharing personal conversation. She didn't want to be involved in the neighborhood gossip. I even got a kick out taking her food shopping and bringing back the groceries to her house. She would cover them up as we carried them out of her car because she did not want anyone to know what she bought. It was important for her to stay private. But when it came to family, it was different. She would gossip with her sisters every day. She would tell us stories about her mother hosting holidays and family get-togethers. It meant everything to her. And when it came to her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, she would do anything for us. She could not wait each year for the Jewish holidays so she could host at her house. It was always about making us happy. Her house was our house. Life was simple for my grandmom. She lived a full life without owning much. Today, you could give her a kitchen, a washing board, her family, and basic cable, and she would be set, even hangers. I will always admire that about my grandmom. Grandmom, we were lucky to have you for so many years. We love you. I love you. Thank you.
Lindsay?
Mom Gert, great Mom Gert, our warrior. My mom is the last surviving sister of 8 siblings. As you know, she survived COVID-19. She made it to 96 and a half, unbelievable. My first memories of Mom Gert are simple, the good old days. We visited her and Pop-Up Jack every Sunday. We walked to New England Pizza in Northeast Philly and sat at the same booth. We ordered our pizza, house salad with Russian dressing on the side, and she had her steak sandwich with fried onions. She ordered the same exact thing every week without fail. For fun, my mom would turn the hose on out front and would let my brother and I run around in the yard. We played a game where we would throw pennies into egg cartons, and the winner was the one who got the most in at once. She would walk my brother and I around to see the neighbors and compare whose cookies were best. My mom's Commish Bright by far was the best, and I wish she patented it years ago because she would have been a billionaire by now. Rachel and I were so lucky to have spent one afternoon watching my mom's magic in the kitchen making those delicious cookies. We didn't know what she was doing, but she just kept throwing flour in a bowl, and they were great. Later on in life, when she moved to New Jersey closer to us, our bond became stronger. I never missed a morning calling her on my way to school or work. She would talk my ear off and gossip about the little old ladies in her building. We spent every week going shopping for clothing, doctor's appointments, lunches at Ponzio's, and food shopping. She would teach me how every penny counts and would find the best prices for cucumbers and melons and made sure to always bring her bag of coupons. She would ask me all the time when I was going to give her a great-grandchild, way before Danny and I were engaged. I couldn't wait to surprise her with the news that her first one was on her way. She came to the hospital the day Shoshana was born, and I have that memory to hold on to forever. Dementia started to slowly take over, and my mom eventually moved to Lionsgate to finish off her last years. Gabrielle, my second daughter, was born, and my mom loved to play bump-bump-butts with her. My favorite activity was taking Shoshana and Gabrielle to visit my mom Gert on Mondays at 11 a.m. And they had music and exercise class for the seniors. Shoshana and Gabrielle would dance around in the circle, and the joy they brought to my grandmother was priceless. Another favorite was sitting on my mom's rollator while she pushed them around the building pretending it was a ride. Then Isabel came along, and we would continue our visits, filled with lollipops and Jolly Ranchers. My memories of Mom and Gert were filled with love and laughter and a whole lot of Yiddish. I'm so grateful and blessed to have had her 38 years of my life. We never ended a conversation without saying Gay Gazin and Kim Gazin, meaning go well and come back well. Her other infamous line was go with the right foot. With that, I will end with, Mama, go with the right foot. I love you, I miss you, and give kisses to Papa Jack for us. Thank you.
As I noted, the custom of family making remarks, eulogies, sharing memories goes all the way back to the first book of the Bible. Currently, in our annual cycle of Torah, we are reading from the book of Numbers. Numbers certainly tell a story, and everybody has already referenced the fact that Gertrude was 96 years old. Carl has connected it to the weather. And you've noted that she was one of 8 siblings: Simon, Celie, Sarah, Dick, Pearl, Gertrude, Etta, and Libby. I won't even try to enumerate the nieces and nephews. She and Jack made a marriage of 48 years. There were 2 children: Carl, married to Lori, and Barbara. 2 grandchildren: Matthew, married to Rachel; Lindsay, married to Danny. 5 great-grandchildren: Maxwell, Ayla, Shoshana, Gabrielle, and Isabel. Numbers do indeed tell a story, but not the whole story. Both of Gertrude's parents were immigrants from Ukraine. Her father died at 48 when she was only 7 or 8 years old. And the boys went to work to help support the family. With 8 children, that was not a simple matter. The family lived in a row house in Philadelphia, and life was not easy. Carl, you put it simply. You said it was a hard life for her growing up. And Barbara, you added that she was devoted to her mom, treated her like a queen, recognized what she had accomplished in keeping the family together after their father died so young. How can we calculate the influence of all of that in Gertrude's character? What numeral would be adequate? And yet the influence is clear in her devotion to her husband Jack, also an immigrant, and to her children, to you, Carl and Barbara. Jack had a small store. Actually, the store was really more of a storeroom for the clothing that Jack sold from 2 racks out in front. First, the family lived above the store, but the neighborhood was not a good one for Carl, so they moved to the northeast. They chose the location based on 2 requirements: near shopping and near a shul. The family didn't own a car. That meant that Jack had to take a bus, a trolley, and a train to get to work, and so did Gertrude when she helped him out at the store. But they wanted to raise their children in a safe and better neighborhood. Family was number 1 for Gertrude. So her primary role was as a mom and a homemaker. And in that, she was always there. She kept a good and meticulous home, a Jewish home. She would light candles on Friday night. You used the Yiddish term, Carl. You said she would bench licht. Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre, there was only 1 light in the house, as Barbara pointed out. Passover, you have memories of schlepping dishes and silver up from the basement. And actually, with Gertrude's 7 siblings and all of their families, there was no room for the Seder at home, so they found a friend who had access to a large room with a kitchen in the basement of a bank. And that's where they held the Seder for many years. Gertrude was also an active member of Sisterhood at Bet Emet. Carl and Barbara, you were quick to note that though there was all of this Jewish practice, you would not say the family was from. Your dad had to work on Saturdays, and your mom would often help him out as she did on other days. But clearly, Yiddishkeit was an important part of your life, even in later years when they were able to take a bit of time off for themselves. Your folks would go to the Catskills with friends. Of course, Monticello, Falls View were known for their Jewish resorts, Grossinger's, Kutcher's, Brown's. Yiddishkeit, it made an impression, and it matters in your lives as well. It's a value that goes beyond number. There were other important values you learned from your mom as well. You learned from her devotion to her mother. That's called kibud em. The term comes from the 10 Commandments, which tells us, kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, honor your father and your mother. The Talmud wants to know, what does that mean, honor? Is it merely a matter of deference, of attitude, of respect? All important. No, says the Talmud. It's really about personal care, about being there for a parent. You learned from the way that she cared for your dad as well. And so you were there for her. Most of all, you learned from the way that she cared for the two of you. Carl, you said that she was tough, strict, firm. Barbara, you said it was not exactly her way or the highway. She knew how and when to be flexible. And then both of you used the term loving. That was how you described her. And time and again, you came back to that value of family. The weekend visits with your grandparents on both sides, the gatherings for holidays with extended family, her always being there for you to talk to, her capacity as a listener, all very important to you. But when it came time to summarize, you said, as you did exactly today in your remarks, Carl, her job was to care for family. And she was good at it. She was devoted, she was constant. That's the common denominator that you kept coming back to. And that defies numerical quantification. What number expresses love? There is none. Of course, we all know that in Jewish circles, love is expressed with food. And Gertrude was a good cook, brisket, Passover recipes for sure. But what everybody has mentioned and clearly remembers was her kamish bread, her cookies of all sorts. And Carl, you referenced her hakshishel, the bowl, again a Yiddish term, the bowl in which she chopped nuts and raisins, and then of course she would sometimes add chocolate chips. Kamish bread was a specialty that everybody relished. She also made excellent mud hamantash. Visits with the grandchildren were a delight for her. The cookies were a treat for you, her way of expressing that delight. And clearly, you enjoyed all the time that you spent with her. You knew what she enjoyed as well. Hairdressers every Friday, even at Lionsgate. Days of Our Lives on TV. Crocheting. And most of all, her number one pleasure, family. And she was there for you, and so you were there for her. Her last years, as you've noted, have been difficult. There have been illnesses which took their toll, and sadly, a terrible fall. But it's not the end of life that is most significant in the equation, especially when the life has been lived well and with meaning beyond quantification. The value of life is not in the number of years, but in the way that Gertrude made her years count. In the end, the book of Numbers is not about numbers. It is really the story of a people's journey from humble beginnings to a place of promise. Life, too, can be compared to a journey, as it is in this home. Birth is a beginning, death is a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood to maturity, youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or from strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, not looking backwards or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high point along the way, but in having made the journey step by step, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, death is a destination, but life is a journey. While Gertrude's journey through this life may have come to an end, her life journey continues in all of yours. Her presence will surely be felt whenever family gathers. May your memories of Gertrude as a mom, grandmother, a great-grandmother, an aunt, great-aunt, and a friend be an inspiration in your lives for all the days and years to come. Those memories will surely be a blessing beyond number. We rise for a final prayer. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Gertrude Bagel, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the kind, caring, and loving deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal with you, O Lord, as it is in the bond of memory with all who are here. You, O Lord, are her portion. May she rest in peace. And we say, Amen. Be seated for a moment, please. Just want to note that at the conclusion of services, the family will be returning to Carl and Lori's home at 30 Yorkshire Drive, and there will be services there this evening and tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m.
Will the pallbearers please step to the center aisle? If we can rise once more, please.
For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather, a time to embrace and a time to refrain.